Helicopter Association International proudly presents the Salute to Excellence Matthew S. Zuccaro Land and Live Award, sponsored by HAI. This award recognizes outstanding aeronautical decision-making, crew resource management, and/or coordinated actions performed by helicopter pilots, flight crew members, or maintenance personnel during the year. On the afternoon of September 24, 2022, Captains Steve Bahagiar and David Sidorsky were flying 4 passengers in a Bristow Group Leonardo AW139 to Houma, Louisiana, from an offshore oil platform. When the flight was about 7 minutes away from the airport, the crew heard a loud woof sound and saw thick smoke coming from the overhead circuit breaker panel. Smoke immediately filled the cockpit. Simultaneously, the low rotor RPM warning alarm sounded. Both engines began racing, and the aircraft started to climb rapidly. Steve, the pilot in command for the flight, fully lowered the collective as he fought to bring RPM back and maintain aircraft control as David broke the door window to clear the smoke from the cabin. The engines were racing at 140% torque as rotor RPM slowly returned to 100%. Even with collective full down and nose level, the aircraft was in a 1,700 feet per minute climb. The aircraft climbed from 3,500 to almost 7,000 feet in the span of a few minutes. Knowing the aircraft needed to reduce power, Steve asked David to idle engine 1 to see if that helped. David did so, and the rotor RPM immediately deteriorated to 80%. He rapidly brought it back, and RPM slowly returned to 100%. During that maneuver, however, the aircraft had descended 1,000 feet. With no other options seemingly apparent, Steve nosed the aircraft forward in an attempt to lose altitude. The helicopter sped up to more than 186 knots, well beyond maximum speed, as Steve flew in a large, gradual spiral to descend. Once lined up for the runway, Steve and David decided to bring engine 2 to idle in an attempt to perform an auto-rotation. The rotor RPM immediately plummeted to 67% before returning with full engine power. Now, knowing the aircraft could still fly at 67% RPM, Steve and David elected to exchange RPM for altitude by throttling back the engines and immediately powering back up repeatedly to descend. The 2 pilots continued the maneuver, nosing over toward the end to lose the last several feet. The helicopter touched down at what Steve believes was about 60 knots. Both main landing gear wheels collapsed while the aircraft skidded 800 feet down the runway before sliding 15 feet into the grass and stopping. Later, the NTSB determined the incident began after incorrectly routed wiring chafed, caught fire, and caused the upper carbon fiber collective torque tube to melt and rotate, leaving the rotor blades in a full pitch position, even when the collective was down. The incident, while harrowing, highlights the significance of exemplary pilot training, the importance of teamwork under duress, and the ability to make strategic decisions during crisis situations. Throughout the entire incident, the pilots continued to fly the aircraft to a safe landing. Please join the HAI Board of Directors in saluting Steve Bahagiar and David Sidorsky, recipients of the 2024 Salute to Excellence Matthew S. Zuccaro Land and Live Award.